Hello, I'm Terry Denton, and I want to welcome you to another edition of Backroom Banter, where we hear from top travel industry leaders. Today our guest is Vicki Freed, who is Senior Vice President of Sales and Trade Support and Services for Royal Caribbean International. Vicki, we want to welcome you to Backroom Banter.
Well, thank you very much. It's a wonderful opportunity, and I appreciate it so much.
Great. Let's get right to the questions. You know, Vicki, one great thing about cruising is that it brings people back again and again. We all love these repeat cruisers. Yet at the same time, we all realize there are still millions of people out there who are new to this particular style of vacation. I know you're a very experienced cruiser yourself, so I'm wondering what one or two pieces of advice would you give someone who had just booked their first cruise, they're awaiting their sailing date? What would you tell them that might enhance and optimize the experience for them?
Okay, well, if it's their first cruise, the one piece of advice I always tell first-time cruisers is be ready to be hooked on cruising. You'll come back and you'll say, why did it take me so long to ever take my first cruise? Because once people try cruising, they cruise again and again. But if you're asking me, okay, so now I've booked my first cruise, what do I do before the cruise? I think, depending on someone's interest, I probably would tell you start exploring the shore excursions. And because in every port, when you're on board the ship, there are literally anywhere from, 20 to 100 shore excursions. And, so if you're going into Alaska, for example, and you have always wanted to go on top of a glacier and you wanted to take the helicopter shore tour and you're adventurous, then you want to at least start exploring the things that might be interesting to you. If you're traveling with your family and you are going to a Caribbean island and you want to swim with the dolphins, you want to start exploring in that situation. What are the family-friendly tours that will, everybody will come back saying they love? So I definitely think I would plan and start thinking about what are the tours that I want to do when I'm in port. Something else I might want to plan is if I'm going on board on first-time cruiser, and let's say it's my honeymoon or an anniversary or a birthday, and I want to one night maybe try specialty dining, which are the little boutique restaurants that are on board the different ships, and they can cost anywhere from $15 or $20 a person up to I think about $40 a person, but they are truly worth it because they are fine steakhouses and very special meals that are prepared. Now, the food in the dining room is wonderful, so people don't have to go to a specialty restaurant, but when it's a special occasion, people do like to try something, different, and so I would highly recommend exploring what may be interesting to you. So, for example, on the Oasis and the Allure of the Seas, we have Giovanni's Table, which is a family-friendly Italian-served meal. We have Chopped Steakhouse, which is really exactly that. It's a steakhouse, the best at sea. And then we have 150 Park, and that's our gourmet restaurant with a celebrity chef. Michael Schwartz operates one of them. So they're tasting menus, very, very fabulous food. So all kinds of different things. And those are a couple of tips I would give.
That's some really excellent advice. I appreciate that. Another thing is everybody always wants to know, what's the newest next thing, what's on the horizon. I've been reading about the press releases about the new Quantum class of ships. I understand that the Quantum of the Seas is due out in the fall of 2014, and a sister ship, the Anthem of the Seas, debuts in the spring of 2015. What can you tell us about this new class of ship and how it may differ from things previously?
Well, I can't tell you a lot, even though I do know a lot, because we keep things very under wraps until we're ready to. We like to release these new wows with like time-released aspirin. Now, we will start to be releasing some of the new features and the wows this coming spring. So just in a few short months, you'll start to hear more about them.
Okay.
But one thing I can share with our listeners and the blog readers is that one thing with Royal Caribbean, every time we have a new class of ships, there's always something new and different and wow. And so it started, back in 1999 when we introduced the Voyager of the Seas, and we had ice skating rinks, and we had royal promenades, and those were really unheard of on cruise ships. And then, when the Freedom class came out, then we added the Flow Riders, and we added some more bells and whistles. And then now with the Oasis class, we have so many different specialty restaurants, as well as an aqua theater and the ice rink and the Broadway musicals. So just trust me, there will be some wows that you've never seen before on a cruise ship.
Well, that's intriguing and sounds very exciting. That was kind of a hardware question, but let's talk about itineraries. I know you're going to get this question. You get this question multiple times a day, but I'll have to confess it's kind of a special obsession here in the state of Texas. But what are your plans regarding year-round sailing from Galveston and/or Houston, or any changes? I noticed that a couple of your competitors have plans for the Houston port in 2013 and 2014. What's Royal Caribbean's plans for Texas?
Well, we love Texas. It's a big market, and we'd like to have a bigger presence in Texas, especially on a year-round basis. But we're not there yet. But in time, we hope to be year-round in Galveston. And we just think it's a great destination. It's easy airlift for people who want to fly there. And then, of course, the drive market's a really popular drive market. So we're not there yet, but give us time, and hopefully we'll be there.
Okay, well, good. Let's talk a minute about adult beverages. Not that fermented grapes have ever passed either one of our lips, of course, but for those people that are interested in such things, tell us a little bit. I'd heard that you guys were now offering 2 beverage package plans that you hadn't had before on the Royal Caribbean ships, and what was that designed for, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, many of our guests who come on board, they just like to have that all-inclusive kind of an approach to a vacation. Maybe they've gone to land-based all-inclusive clubs, and so cruise is like an all-inclusive resort that basically almost includes everything, but goes to many different ports in a week, unlike if you're just stationed and land somewhere. And so some of our guests have said, we'd like to know one price, and we get all the alcohol and drinks that we want. And so we have 2 packages. One is called the Classic Package, and it's $45 per guest per day. And it includes a beer, whether it's bottle, can, or draft, house wine by the glass, fountain sodas and juices, and non-alcoholic cocktails. And then there's another package called the Premium Package, and this is $55 a day per person. And you pay one price, and you get all the well, call, and premium cocktails. You get frozen drinks like those pina coladas and things of those, all those yummy drinks. You get any kind of beer you want. You get house wine by the glass. You get non-alcoholic cocktails. You get fountain soda and juices, and then you get shots of alcohol brands, around the ship in the different bars. So there's a lot of variety. And then for people that maybe don't want to drink alcohol, I know you say it was adult drinking, there are soda packages. There are also water packages, and people like to drink a lot of water. These are a great deal too.
Yeah, well, it sounds like an awful lot of options for people, no matter what their tastes in beverages are. Another thing I'm kind of intrigued by, I've heard this slogan that, associated with the Royal Caribbean: every ship is our best ship. And I know it has something to do with the $300 million revitalization going on, but tell us a little bit what that's all about.
Well, every ship is our best ship because depending on where in the world you want to travel with us, we want the experience to be very consistent. And so we've gone back to some of our more mature ships, and we've really revitalized them. And that doesn't mean new carpets and new furniture. It means really gutting them out and changing the things around. So things that were brought into service on the Oasis of the Seas, some of these specialty restaurants, like I mentioned earlier, Giovanni's Table, and even Chops, our steakhouse, those are really 2 very popular restaurants. We now are bringing them onto our other ships and adding more bells and whistles, like in the Vision and the Radiance class. These ships now have entertainment in their Centrum lobby, which is like up to 5 stories. It's an open atrium lobby, and we have sort of like a Cirque du Soleil. We have unbelievable aerialists that do just unbelievable shows there. In fact, there's one show during the Captain's Welcome Aboard cocktail party where one of the divers, or not a diver, but the aerialist, she is holding bottles of champagne, and she's pouring the champagne into the flutes of the guests as they're standing there. My goodness. And we've gone back and we've put Broadway shows on some of our ships. We have the DreamWorks experience on some of our ships, and so there's really just making every ship our best ship depending on the market that the ship is sailing in.
Well, that's all very, very impressive. Finally, in order for our listeners to get to know you a little bit better on a personal level, as I said at the beginning, you cruised a lot yourself. Can you think of what was probably your best cruise experience and what made it so special?
Oh, my goodness. That's like asking me, who's my favorite child in my family. I have been fortunate. I have cruised for over 30 years, and I have had the opportunity to cruise everywhere in the world, whether it's Antarctica, I have to say was quite interesting. The Galapagos, very interesting.
Yes,
I just came back from Australia and New Zealand, which I thought was really magnificent. But, I go on the Oasis and the Allure of the Seas for a 7-day Caribbean. In February, I was on the Allure of the Seas, and I'm going to New Year's on the Oasis of the Seas. So, I love cruising to Europe. I just think cruising is the best vacation. And so I don't really have a favorite. I've just been really fortunate to see many different destinations in my life.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, I really appreciate, Vicki, you taking the time to be with us. It's an absolute delight to chat with you today. We want to thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Now, this concludes another session of Backroom Banter. Until next time, travel safe.